Okay, so we're recording. I wish we had had that on there. Hargo Bend is leading us in gonging from all over the world on June 12th. That's 2012. And what's the name of your YouTube video? Hargo Bend?
I know what it is.
It's
Ancient Healing.
What is
Ancient
it?
Healing Gong Around the World.
Good. Ancient Healing Gong Around the World. It's a delightful video.
It's 11 minutes.
It's 11 minutes. Perfect. Okay, so who else is here?
Guru Ravi.
Hi, sweetie. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Guru.
Hi, honey.
And who else is here?
Ranjit.
Hi, Ranjit. We got the trio.
Ranjit.
The sibling trio. Welcome. And who else? Hadi Munder and
Guru Atma.
Hi, Guru Atma. Welcome.
Hi.
And who else?
Sarb Sevakar.
Devakar?
Yeah, Sarb Sevakar.
Do you have a name before Seva? I'm not quite getting that.
Sarb.
Sarab Seva. Oh,
yeah.
Good. Thank you. Welcome. And who else is here?
Kehar.
Hi, Kehar. You made it. Oh, fabulous.
Yes.
Wonderful. And who else is here? Okay, well,
Carol.
let's get go. Who? Carol?
Carol.
Did you say Carol, Carol?
Yes.
Welcome, dear.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get going. Everybody sit straight. Palms together if you can. Long, deep breath. Eyes at the third eye point. And relax in your third eye point. And inhale to begin. Long deep breath. And now begin heart breath. That is long deep breath from the belly through the nose. And on the exhale, feel as though the air is coming out of your heart center. This is actually healing energy. That's it. Keep up this heart breath. Know who you are. Know the blessing of who you are. As you do this heart breath, let your heart open. Let all the pookiness come out. And let yourself expand. Good. And now please do heart breath and let our heart breath actively communicate with each other. Anybody who's on this call now or who is listening to the recording. Actively communicate with one another. In this realm of energy, there is no separation of time and space. This is the blessing of being united as light workers. Keep up. And remember this in your everyday life. No gossip, no judging, only blessing. Doesn't mean dumb. You can discern, but no blaming. Good. And opening. Okay, now Baba Siri Chand said that there is going to be a shift in the worldwide planetary consciousness very soon. And by that he is saying that Hargoben has tuned into a special date. It's not just that day, but it feels as though there is that there are a few weeks there that are quite power-packed, moving into solstice. And that whole month will, and also July, will carry exceptional changes. So, please send your heart breath for that time, and for all of us on the planet who will be stepping up. Remember, these are the scenarios in which we decide whether we're going to step up or we're going to allow ourselves to flow back. That's it. Continue to unite as a planetary force. Vibrate with other light workers who are not even on this call right now. And moving up. Moving up. Good. Beautiful fullness, like stepping stones or a ladder. Good. And inhale. And exhale. And continue heart breath if you like. Okay, sir, what do you have to tell us today? He says, it is about your own kindness. He says, nothing can change this planet more than your own kindness. So he says, you may feel that you're a little itty-bitty nothing, and how could I possibly have an effect on the planet? He says, you're like ping pong balls. He says, you're like billiard balls. He's a vibration of a higher quality can make such a difference. He says, as one vibration bounces off another vibration, he says it sets it in motion. It sets up, he calls it a quirkiness. He says it sets off a vibratory rate or a resonance rate that moves through all the ethers and moves through time and space. He says when you do this, when you live in this kindness, we call it, oh, isn't that sweet? And we relate it almost to a fairy tale concept. He says, my dears, this is not a fairy tale. He says, this is the truth, with capital letters. This is the reality of consciousness. This is the flow of knowledge, he says, of redemption. I say, sir, what do you mean by redemption? He says, do you want to progress on to total union? I go, yes, sir. He says, well, this is it. He says, you are moving and including, he calls it inculcating, the vibratory rate of very profound consciousness that is lighter, brighter, and much more active, much more powerful in the sense that it gives you greater returns. He says, not just on the everyday level. He says it does that. As you give out kindness, as you give out heart breath, he says the quirkiness, he says it touches others, and others respond. Others respond. He says, now you may have read Hadi Mundakar's story that was repeated in the recent newsletter. Hadi Mundar's on here now. Hadi Mundar, would you like to briefly repeat that story?
Say that again?
Would you like to briefly repeat that story?
Yeah, because it isn't quite the same as I experienced it. I have a difficult neighbor near my cabin, and he has a lot of issues with lots of people. And I had a friend who is a surveyor who came over to help me work on the land. And when we were both together, this neighbor came in his truck, and he stopped, and he just let me have it. You were the most terrible, horrible person I've ever met. Okay, so my surveyor friend heard it, and he was there witnessing it with me. So then my neighbor went away. And when you're surveying with someone, the person who isn't the surveyor just holds the stick most of the day. And while I was just holding the stick and not doing anything else, I was sending heart breath to my neighbor, and ho'oponopono, which is, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, to my neighbor. And that night, when we'd finished all the survey work and we were back home at the cabin, my neighbor
can I make
called.
a point that you didn't accept it as a victim, but you
right.
said kindness instead?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And my neighbor called me. I mean, we don't have much communication in the first place, and it takes a tremendous courage to. He called me and he said, I do not want to be the kind of person that dumped on you today. And he said, I'm sorry, and we worked out some differences, and he said, are we clear? Yes. So my jaw just dropped. It was completely out of character for him, and it was very powerful.
Wonderful. Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. On all levels. Thank you. Okay.
Welcome.
Okay, so keep up your heart breath, please. He says, now do you understand the quirkiness of it? He says, your energy is manifesting in other people's lives. He says, please never, ever be the victim again. He says, you must not, you cannot be the victim again. He says, you are at a time in the planetary evolution in which, he says, this is like the Titanic. He says, if you stay in victimhood, you are going to go down with the ship. He says, it's just that plain, just that obvious. He says, never again accept victimhood. He says, move into the power of your own being. He says, even if you do not believe it, even if you do not believe it, he says, move into that. Excuse me, it sounds like somebody's doing something in the background. Maybe you could press *6. It's a little distracting. Okay. So he says, stay in that ingenuity of the present. Stay in that quality of the present. He says, which knows no bounds. He says the present has no bounds. He says, do you understand that? All happens in the infinite present. The present has no bounds. He says, you send this quirky energy right into the totality, the blessing of the totality, and he says you stay with it, you know it, you love it, you flow with the blessings. He says, and if your intention is to present this, so to speak, at the feet of another, or of the culture, or of the whole universal aspect, he said, in all of its ramifications, he says, then that is when you become the saint. That is when you join us at the council table. If you become the victim, if you hollow yourself out and move down to the quality of energy of the victim, he says you've taken yourself away. You've taken yourself away from the council table. You have moved apart. He says, even if you do not believe that you are worthy, even if you do not believe, you cannot scrape up an iota of any thought, energy, understanding, or belief that you are capable, that you are present to do this, that you are a conduit of the divine. He says, even if you can't believe it on any level, he says, do it. Do it. He says, move this kindness. Move this kindness. You are a perfect conduit of this divinity that moves through you. Do not stop. Do not ever stop. Do not hold back. He says, understand that when you do this, you are not forcing the other person to do anything. You are not overcoming the other person. Instead, you are offering this resonance to the other person. And if they are any kind of seeker of love, it will resonate. It will resonate, and it will allow the crystalline structure of their aura to shatter and to change, to be receptive more and more to that. He calls it vehicular kindness. Sir, why did you call it that? He says, because you are all vehicles. He says, when people resist it, he says they have shut and locked the doors of their own vehicle, their own being. So he says, allow this energy, non-aggressively, to kindly knock on the windows of their own vehicle. And if they are in any kind of state of readiness, any kind of state of receiving what they need, then they will receive it. And this energy, this kindness that is conducted through your own veins or highways of energy, they will receive it. and their energy will reconstruct. It will reconstruct, reconfigure in new crystalline patterns. That is what you are doing. He says, and here's the benefit for you. Even if you do not believe it, he says your energy will also be reconstructed. Bit by bit, layer by layer. He says, whether you do or do not believe it, do it. He says there are not so many options left anymore. He says we are coming to the great divide. He says the energies are very much more pronounced nowadays. He says you may have been feeling them. And if you have been allowing yourself to surf on the peak of the wave, on the broadest of the energy base, he says you will find yourself being much more easily carried along. He says if you find resistance, he says offer it. He says in old days, ancient days, they would offer lambs, goats, and even human sacrifice. He says, oh, my dears, they had a good idea, but strange ways to express it. In this day, in this time, you offer the things that pull you down, you offer them to your God source. You offer them to the brilliance of the light in full confidence that they are accepted, that they are most humbly accepted. And in exchange, you shed the difficulties, you shed the curtains, you shed the containers of the dark, of what we would have called darkness, and you simply are bare naked to the light. He says this is not a scary process. He says, imagine yourself as a child of the most divine mother, giving her your little presents or your vast presents. He says, and in return, she can only give you the kindest love, call you the sweetest and the cutest, and the most blessed. She will give you treats that you never imagined. But it takes the free will of allowing the separation to melt. You probably will not understand it. He says, this is no joke. He says, but do not feel that you have to understand it in order to enact it. He says, this is the action that goes beyond understanding. It is a simple action. The simplicity is what the worth is, where all the worth is. It is total simplicity that guides you to the greatest heart. He's calling it your heart as well as the heart of all. It is a blessing. It is a kindness. It is a knowing in which you do not get stuck because you do not grab onto the difficulty, the holes, the hurts for your own security. You would possibly do that because this is what you know. We as humans, we rely on what we know. And if all we have known over the years is tears, hurt, worry, smallness, that becomes our security. He says, isn't that an upside down measure? He says, you've been able to carry that along for so many generations, so many lifetimes. He said, with consequences, yes. But he says, here is your chance. Here is your chance to get on the trampoline of love and light. He says, make the leap. Make the gorgeous leap so that your consciousness moves out of the gravitational pull. That is a gravitational pull of what you are used to, of habit, of what you might call security, in a sort of a roundabout and upside down way. He says, drop it now. Drop it now. You did not come into this lifetime to hold it, to cherish your shortcomings. He says, this lifetime is extremely special, and this point in time in history is overwhelmingly special. He says, this is the time when you move into the more rarefied state that is beyond understanding, that is beyond hope. It is simple and pure and total reality. He says if you want to bring your misperceptions into this, he says you cannot. He says the key will not fit the lock. The key will not fit the lock if you hold on to the old ways. Each time an old way is presented to you, a way that does not work, a way that pulls you down, that makes you confused, that pulls you to judge another person, to feel superior to the other person, to feel inferior to another person, to feel that life circumstances are against you. For instance, your income is not supporting you, to feel down. He says you will be challenged in all arenas of your lifetime, all arenas of your lifetime. He says this is a cleansing process. He says we are cleaning with a toothbrush, as you might say, all the little nooks and crannies. And if you take that scouring as a punishment from above, he says, in fact, you will continue to inflict that punishment on you. It's not really a punishment. It is just a simple reliving of old habits. He says, but, my dear, if you take that toothbrush and if you scrub every corner of your latrine, he says, you will find that what shines forth as you let go of the dark, the dirt, he says, what you find in that shine is pure light. And he says, allow yourself to be taken and expanded on it. He says, this is even far beyond faith. This is far beyond hope. It is simply being present to the quality of the present. He said, as I said before, in the pure, most infinitesimal present is the infinite. Allow yourself to glide on the infinitesimal present. He said that doesn't mean don't make plans, do not create a web of your work and your schedule. He says, I'm not talking about that. He says, but if you live in this infinitesimal present, you will switch from understanding all of those guidelines of your life, such as to-do list and so on. You will find them as decorations. You will find them as mobile, fluid forces decorating your home of light. They are not your central aspect. They are not your home. They are decorating your home. He says, do you see the difference? He says, your home, your HOME, is the light of you. He says, please use your heart breath now and move into this incredible, infinitesimal present that is a pure, absolute, he calls it dire, light. It is the force of this light, and the light is his energetic projection. It is an energetic vibrational quality. It is the universe of anti-gravity. He says it is a dimension of the wicked turned great. He says it is the place of transformation. He says place, he calls it an oxymoron, is not a place, but he says that will suffice, that word will suffice for now. He said it is that dimension of the quality of the unknown. A dimension of the quality of the unknown. He says, so if you are fixed on knowing, on living the known, he says you will miss the train. You will miss the train. So he's showing me in the Harry Potter movies about how they all go to the train station. He says there's a train station on the tracks for the everyday aspects. He says, but they move into another quality to board themselves upon the train, and we are going to call it now the train of light. It is not fiction. It is not fiction. It is the all-pervasive reality. He says it holds the quality of all imagination or intention and then moves that into time and space. Do you see? It is above time and space. And it is a quality of the creator creative of time and space. He says, I'm asking you to dwell beyond time and space so that all actions, all desires, all hurts and remiss move first through the light, are transformed, and that becomes the grist to the mill of creation. He says, you are blessed beings. Please, you must accept it. Please accept the understanding that you are pure beings of light, pure beings of creator creation, in the true knowledge of yourself. Please breathe with us. Allow the energy to move through you, the knowledge, the recognition, the great heart of your own kindness. Your kindness is the carrier of the light. Your kindness is a carrier of the light. He says sometimes people get confused. He says this kindness, he says, does not mean that you are a wimp. Quite the converse, he says. Again, he's going back to the story of Guru Gobind Singh, who fought the armies of the Mughals who were attempting to kill anybody who would not convert. He says they stood in their truth and their righteousness. But Guru Gobind Singh tipped his arrows with a nugget of gold so that the families of those he killed would be able to bury them. He says, do you understand? He was coming from the light, from the direction of the light. He was standing to his truth. He still stands to his truth, but he also dwells in the light and the kindness. Do you see the difference? He does not dwell in anger in order to hold the truth. He dwells in purity. He dwells in the upliftment of all consciousness. This is your, he calls it, this is your main, M-E-I-N. This is who you are. This is your path. This is your quality. The courage to live in the light, to live in the flow of the unknown. He says it takes courage to move into that. He says you may hold on to the mantra to steady yourself, to open the door. He says, you may hold my hand. You may hold the hand and be in the circumference of the arms of Guru Ram Dass. He says, rest in Jesus. Rest in the container of Yogi Bhajan. He says, allow yourself, gain the habit of being steadied. He says, be in that emotional place of being transfixed. Just steady your nerves. As you do this, he calls it exaggerated heart breath to ground you. Again, he says, we have done this many times before. Let your energy move right through the center of Mother Earth. Feel her there. And let the energy come back up through your whole being, through your vertical space, out the top of your head, into the place of anti-gravity, the totality, the light, and come back down in your body and continue making that circuit from the infinity at the top of your head, right down to the center of Mother, the Mother of creation, the one who knits creation and all of its forms. Keep that going. And now, tap into that energy on the horizontal at your heart and allow your heart breath to move from that center. He says, do you understand that you are extraordinary extenders of the light? That you become healers? That ghosts come to you for prayer and forgiveness? He says, you don't have to get wrapped up in all that. He says, simply do it. There is nothing more but to do it. Nothing more but to do it. This is what it means to live in your greatness. Relax in that. Allow yourself to expand in it. What a pleasure, what a blessing you are. He says, accept that. Accept that. You are a pleasure and a blessing. Know who you are and live in your kindness. Keep up the breath. He says, now, my dears, I will go on and on, he said, without a worry, without a tear, to move you into this hallowed ground of who you are. He says, but now I want you, please, to share your experience, your awareness, your flow. He says, please connect with one another and relate your awareness. Okay, who can share?
I'm Kathy, and I had an amazing experience. I had the three angels come visit me that's been being passed around from Hari Mandar passed them to me. And my three wishes, and one of which I felt was the most impossible, was for spiritual healing for my ex-husband and a better relationship with myself and my two kids with my ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
A week prior, he had a conversation with my daughter at the grocery store where he started cursing me to my daughter for bursting into tears. And so I really felt like there wasn't really much hope, that he was in such a dark place. He called me on Saturday, on 2 days into the stay, 5-day stay of the angels, and told me that he was in a great loss. He had lost his cousin. He had lost his girlfriend, and he was put in a position at his job where he was going to have to fire 15 people, and he just was reaching out to me for something. And I offered to do healing work for him, and he's has always been a skeptic. He used to always tease me about it, and a hokey pokey jokey. And he said yes for me to please do the healing work for him, which was a great miracle in itself. And since then, I've had a couple of sessions using emotion code, releasing trapped emotions for him, and it's just such a powerful blessing. And one of which was very interesting, where I was at work and I looked at myself in the mirror, and my nose was all kind of bumpy and capillary broken, and my ex-husband is an alcoholic, and I just felt this like pressure from the universe that to bring that healing right there, right then, even though I was at work. And so I sat down at nap time and I did energy work for him. I work with children, and it was just so beautiful. It's so beautiful that people are receptive, and it's so beautiful that the universe wants it so much. That here you have time to do it right now, even at work. So I wanted to share that. So thank you.
How wonderful. Thank you, dear. He said, yes, you are understanding about the breakdown of the old forces. He says, this is how it is happening and how it will continue to happen. He says, none of you hesitate. Do not hesitate to offer this healing. He says, you are my army of soul scientists, he calls us. He says, to offer that healing and that kindness, that upliftment to people who have no clue, who reject it, as your husband did. And are you finding a difference in your husband?
Yes,
your former husband?
I am, indeed.
Wonderful. He says, this is the time, the rarefied time of the change. He says, all of you, please be aware that that's why you came. You came to be the healer. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Who else would like to share?
I think it's me here again. It's Suzanne.
Yes, dear.
Hey. So I was trying to get in touch with a friend for about 2 months, and no luck. I was very concerned, and finally I got a call yesterday, and she said, I'm so sorry for not calling you. I didn't want to call you because I knew you would tell me the truth.
Oh.
And so, what do you do with that? But it turns out, all said and done, she's going through a spiritual shift. She didn't know who she could talk to. How do you tell that to someone? Who do you trust to be able to say it? And I just thought it was so awesome that I was very comfortable with that. And she was very grateful she finally called back. So I agree with what I'm hearing here, that it is what's happening now.
Wonderful. God bless you, dear, for holding that strength and that the power of the light in the kindest, most gentle and powerful way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, who else can share?
Siri Gian?
Yes, dear. Rahmane.
Yeah. I wanted to share a visual that I got when Baba Siri Chand was talking about the scouring out of the old modalities, and it happens before Passover, and it's done with a candle and a feather at night, and the parents take children around to the various nooks and crannies in the house with this feather and candle to sweep out any, it's called chametz, which has to do with either being puffed up out of feeling superior or the opposite, feeling low self-esteem. So when we were talking about that, it was such a gentle image.
What a beautiful practice.
Yeah. I was also wanted to ask, I heard Baba Siri Chand say through you, allow free will to melt. And did I hear that correctly? And is that another way of speaking about surrender to the greater will, which is unity and conscious? Okay.
Yes. It is.
Okay.
Good. Of course, you always have free will to decide which path you're going to take. But allowing the resistance to melt, resistance from what we call the everyday self or the ego to simply allow the infinite presence to move through you. That is, you actually align your will to the greater will.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
And who else can share?
Ranjit?
Yes, dear.
Hi. I felt a bit like Alice in Wonderland when you were when Baba Siri Chand was talking about that if we stayed comfortable as we are and secure in our habits and our rituals, that the in our life that the key would not fit into the lock of our new that we were to be above time and space and to be on that train of light, and that was the visual that I got, trying to get into that, trying to get through that door, and finding the right key. And,
how interesting!
Yes, it was pretty cool. But I loved that your home is the light of you, and I was thinking, what would be an acronym for home? And and I was just, a few of the words that came up was harmonic, and I couldn't think, but I was thinking of Om, that reverberation of life of the whole. and then for M, it was mother and mantra both, because Baba Siri Chand had talked about mantra today, and Mother Earth, and then for E was for the energetic projection.
Oh.
And it was just, and I love that too, that your kindness is the carrier of this new light, of the light, and it was just another wonderful lesson, and I'm so excited to be coming into the next couple of months, and really waiting with much anticipation as to what the next few months will bring in the way of just the great openings and the great divide, as you were talking. And I just I don't know, just have many hopes and aspirations, and feel like a little kid on Christmas Day, just waiting in anticipation of what we're coming into. Just something that's never been known before, and just very very happy to be present and to be living in this time. And Sarb Seva is my daughter. She was.
Really?
Yeah,
how wonderful!
She's home from college, and she wanted to get in on the call. She's run to get ready for work now, but I just wanted to tell you that that's who that was.
Oh, how sweet! I'm so happy that she joined us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you. When I said the word home, I also thought, oh, it's an acronym. And but there was, I didn't feel that I could stop and listen to that part. It would have taken a little while to unravel that one. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you. That was what I heard too. It was very, it's wonderful. Yummy,
Good.
as you would say.
Yes. Okay. He says, you are the light. Just rest in it. Okay. Who else can share?
Siri Gian.
Yes.
This is Guru Ravi. And there was just, again, so much. But what really struck a chord in my heart was the reminder that we can rest in Baba Ji and Yogi Ji and the Council of Beings, and that they're always there to hold our hand and to put their arms around us. And that was just so powerful, because I feel so strongly that we are being scrubbed so deeply with the at a microscopic level. Maybe toothbrush seemed almost too big, but a very these challenges that are there, and that reminder that to just rest in the peace of knowing that we're being so guided and so loved from beyond is just amazing.
Right. Wonderful. Good. Thank you so much, dear. Thank you. And we have time for one more. Does anybody else have anything that they can share?
Hi, this is Sadeva.
Hi, Sadeva.
Hi, Siri Gian. This was a really welcomed call to listen into. So thank you for reminding me of the things to strengthen me and give me hope. I heard some news that a little girl who I've known since birth is really punishing herself and doing terrible things to herself so that she's under psychiatric care now, and it's so disturbing, and I wonder what I can do to help, and so the reminder of the heart breath I really appreciate, and I would love for people on the call to also send their energy to this young lady right now, because it seems
let's do that.
So helpless.
Everybody, heart breath. Pain is being felt so acutely by many of our young people these days that they rely on things like cutting and so on. So please, in your pure neutrality of the present, please send your heart breath to this dear child. Please send your heart breath. Pure, neutral kindness. Keep that up. And Honey Munder, would you please tell us again what the words for Ho'oponopono are?
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
The Ho'oponopono are I love you.
We can't quite hear you.
Okay. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
Good. Keep up heart breath. And Honey Munder, please say it again.
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
Good. Keep up. Understand that we're all connected. And many of these children are carrying the brunt of the pain as we move forward. See light around, through, emanating from this beautiful child. And Baba Siri Chand, he asked that we continue this heart breath and this healing meditations and the Ho'oponopono. Keep that up for 40 days. In your meditations, include her. And include all the other suffering children. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Satdeva, for bringing her to us.
Thank you.
Okay, so God bless you all. He calls these feasts. Feasts? He calls it Feast of Amortization of the Unknown. He says, I say, what does that mean? He says, when you do this, you are allowing the unknown to permeate your lives, your beings, your energy system. He says, keep up. He says, if only you could see and understand this great work, great participation. Okay, so now, please put your palms together again. And Kehar?
I'm here.
Would you lead us in the closing song?
Inhale. May the long time shine upon you, all around you, and love you within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on.
Inhale. Feel the blessing of you. Feel the knowledge of you. He says, we are one. Know that. Now we are the light. Bless you all. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.